Let's get into it. Sold Not For Sale podcast. Coach COLIN here. You're about to hear Joe Rogan talk about Kamala Harris. She wasn't elected. His words exactly. He's talking with a guest who's a little dumbfounded, and he probably doesn't talk about politics a lot because he's like, are we being gaslit? He's like a little unsure because he's seeing the media, but he's understanding how things used to be, how people used to talk about Kamala Harris, her approval rate, things of that nature. And it's all very much changed. We're also going to be playing a clip from the Tucker Carlson podcast where Tucker and Senator Mike Lee discuss Kamala Harris's ability to win and then also her personal character, because Mike Lee, the senator, actually knows her personally. They've worked together for quite some time. But an important message before we start all of that.
We all sing happy tunes and sing Merry Christmas and wish each other Merry Christmas. These children are not going to have a Merry Christmas. How dare we speak Merry Christmas?
Merry Christmas, everyone. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Just, sometimes you got to pull from both sides sometimes, How dare you speak Merry Christmas, but also, as soon as it hits December, Merry Christmas. Am I right? She knows what's up. She knows. Anyways, guys, let's get into the Joe Rogan clip right now. Oh, no, let me slow it down. Let me slow it down for you guys.
Plug into. Is there any way to you that we're not being gaslit like to hell by Kamala Harris?
In what way?
Like, wasn't she like a joke even among Democrats? Like 10 seconds ago, like literally, like a day ago.
Yep.
And now it's like the country's rallying around.
I know.
Like,
yeah.
What? I don't know. I don't even.
We're so easily manipulated, and they're all doing it in lockstep. Yeah, no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. She was she polled as the least popular vice president of all time.
Yeah.
She is. I had dinner with a friend of mine recently who actually knows her. He says she's very smart, but when she gets in front of a camera, she locks up and she's just not good at communicating, and she tries to go off script. And she, whenever you're talking in front of a large group of people, there's a bizarre stress and pressure that really constricts your ability to communicate.
I'm aware.
Yeah.
As of the last few minutes.
Yeah, it's weird. And this is just you and me, right? This is just you and me. And now imagine you and me, but we're in front of 15,000 people that are hanging on our every word, and you're kind of freeballing, and maybe you really haven't even done the research. Like someone's asking you how you're going to fix the economy, right? And then you have some the problem is everybody needs money because the bills, and we're working on that. Like what?
Well, and that's so obvious when, with the passage of time is significant, and the significance of the passage of time is significant because of the passage of time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's someone who is basically like a kid in the 5th grade who's writing a book report, but they haven't read the book.
That's every time I see her on camera, that's all I can think is that she's the kid who didn't do her homework.
Right.
Because she just has that vibe. Did you see the clip of her talking about how dare we wish Merry Christmas to people?
No.
Yeah, she does this bizarre rant about how we shouldn't be wishing Merry Christmas to anyone.
Is this when she was a senator?
I don't know. It's recent.
It's recent.
Yeah.
Really?
It's so strange that that was her. That's the only time I've seen her passionate about anything on camera.
Come on, really?
Yeah,
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, no,
I've seen the one she was telling that people need to be woke. Everyone needs to be more woke.
Oh,
you
yeah.
should be more woke. You should figure out who's the wokest. And try to be the wokest, but everyone should be more woke. And she's like laughing. It's like, what the f?
And when we all sing happy tunes and sing Merry Christmas and wish each other Merry Christmas, these children are not going to have a Merry Christmas. How dare we speak Merry Christmas? How dare we?
Merry Christmas, everyone.
She invoked Greta Thunberg a little bit there.
Oh, that's so nutty.
No.
How dare we?
How dare we? How dare you?
Yeah. No, we're definitely being gaslit.
Yeah.
And not only that, here's the big one, right? She wasn't elected, right? No. She was appointed vice president, and then they didn't do primaries. They had no primaries for Joe Biden, and now all of a sudden she is the nominee because he's stepping away. And so then they bring in her, and they bring in this other guy who's radical from Minnesota. That's the vice president, who he believes a lot of wild things. One of them is transgender surgery for people who are under 13. Another one is abortion up until 9 months.
Ooh.
Yeah. Obviously, there's reasons why people medically would, like, if the woman's life is in danger, if the child has something wrong, it's not going to live. There's reasons why they choose to do things like that. But that stuff scares the out of people. He changed the Minnesota state flag to make it look like a Somali flag. Yeah.
Oh.
You haven't seen that?
No.
Yeah. Show that video. So the video of him taking down the Minnesota flag and he replaced it with the new flag that looks a lot like the Somali flag.
Wow.
Minnesota has a huge population of Somalis in it.
Well, isn't what's her face?
Yes.
Yeah. Omar.
Yeah.
Oh.
But there's a video of him doing it.
But I'm seeing false claims.
Man,
Well, okay, well, let's see the video. But they did change the Minnesota state flag, correct?
sometimes the false.
Yeah, that's the problem with like fact checkers. Some of these fact checkers are completely full of shit.
They are.
Like you're just trying to debunk something, especially now when there's all this scrutiny being paid attention to what this guy's done.
Yeah.
What have you? What's the false stuff, Jamie? It's not the flag itself, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I typed in. I was just trying to even get to it. A whole bunch of stories are popping up. I'll just show you this. Like, no, he didn't give him a Somali flag. No, he didn't change
No,
it to
it's-
resemble Somali. False Somali.
But
state
what does
flag.
it look? Okay, but what does it look like now?
That's what I was trying to get to.
Okay, on the left is Somali flag. On the right is the Minnesota state flag. Okay, same color as the Somali flag, a white star, a different white star in it, like the Somali flag. Very different than the original Minnesota flag. And there's a video down below that. That's when he changes it out. So he takes out the Minnesota state flag. Oh, hold on a second. Wait a minute. Turn the volume up, please, so you hear him say that.
All right, ready. Whoa, wait a minute.
So he gets the flag, picks it up, moves it out of the way, and replaces it. Look at this.
There, that's better.
Is it?
Why is that better?
I don't know.
Why do you care what the flag looks like, first of all? And why do you get to change the flag? How crazy is that the governor gets to change the flag? Like, who else is involved in that decision to change the flag?
Is that what happened?
I don't know.
Usually, it's a big event. They let people pick. You know. There's
Right. No,
voting
we have a
on
bunch
it,
of people
pick on
that's
it.
a high population of Somalis in your state. I would imagine they would want to try to get that flag a little closer to home.
Yeah. The worst incident of fact checking was the quid pro quo Joe clip, where Biden brags about that time that he withheld $1 billion of aid to Ukraine
So they fire a prosecutor.
to fire a prosecutor that we now know his son worked for. Mm-hmm. And if you type that in, Snopes or whatever would tell you just like, oh, that didn't happen. Biden, there was no quid pro quo, and Biden didn't want the prosecutor fired because he didn't know that his son worked for Burisma at the time. And it's like how can you just say that's fake? And like it's scary to me that people will read that and be like, "Oh, it's fake." It's like,
Yeah.
no, look at it, like with your eyes.
Yeah, fact checkers are f***ing dangerous, and it's really. I mean, what you're seeing is kind of treason.
Yeah, that's
It's kind of what it is. If you're seeing that kind of fact checking, you're lying. You're lying, and you're intentionally misrepresenting facts, and you're doing so because you want a specific result politically.
right.
And it should be illegal.
I agree.
Especially if people think of you as a fact checker. You know, and what does that mean? What does it mean to be a fact checker? But the problem with facts is a lot of them are very subjective. And you can find one small inconsistency or you could phrase a question in a certain way and have your answer false in a different way because you're just finding some nitpicky way to look at things. I've seen a lot of that to the point where you're like, that's not fact checked at all. You guys just you're gaslighting. It's just
Right.
pure gaslighting.
This is what it says. Who picked the new flag?
State Emblems Redesign Commission, tasked with choosing the new flag and seal, made its final selections this week, and the new design will debut next year. It follows 4 months of meetings, many spirited debates, and 2,500 submissions from the public sharing their ideas for the new symbols.
This is why they changed it. He said it was problematic.
Problematic. Oh, I love that term. Our current flag is problematic. I think we all know that. We've evolved into a more diverse state, and I think it's more reflective of that. Okay, what was the original flag? There's concern with the scene depicted on the old flag, which many found offensive. First adopted in 1957, the flag showed a white settler tilling land as an indigenous man rides horseback. Indigenous members of the State Emblem Redesign Commission said it was harmful to their communities and promoted the erasure of their people from the land.
What?
Well, can I see what it looked like? Show me the original, just get a photo of the original Minnesota flag. Okay, click on that. Let's see what it looked like. Okay. So there's
very
a
blurry.
Native American on a horseback. I see it, though. And then there's a farmer tilling the land, a Native American on horseback. is that problematic as Native Americans didn't really ride horses and people didn't really till the land? Like, I don't understand what.
There's a big controversy about that, actually.
Yeah.
Man, every time I see something, I get changed away from something that's American. It's just showing a little depiction of America and the developing of that land. And they're like, that's problematic. We have to get rid of that and make it into something else and make it look like what the people who now populate this place, let them decide pretty much. Let them have say. I think it's just so terrible. So terrible. Every time I see stuff like that, I'm just like, why? Just leave it. It's fine. If you want to see a closer video of what Joe Rogan was talking about with Jamie, this is the gentleman, Tim Walz. Very fond of horses. I don't know if you guys know that. He's very fond of horses. We won't get into that right now, but this is the video.
All right, ready. Whoa, wait a minute. There, that's better. All right, ready.
It's very sad. That's all it is. It's sad. It's not even something to get outraged about. It's just, you're the governor, and that's just how you see things. You just see things in the fact that what's American is problematic, and it's just gross. Anyway, here's another clip of this gentleman, just so you guys know, because this is the vice president pick for Kamala Harris. This is another clip of him. I just found this clip just like, I don't know. This is like a beta clip.
Something I'll never get tired of saying, I think all of you, Congresswoman Omar, wonderful. Doesn't that sound? When I'm having a tough day or I'm out on about mile 5 of my run and I'm feeling kind of down and the world's pressing on me, I think Ilhan Omar's a congresswoman, and it just brightens you up. So thank you.
What? Is this Will Ferrell? Is he Will Ferrell in disguise? What is he talking about? I think of you being a congresswoman, it just brightens my day right up. Oh my gosh. Just, if you wanted to know how left leaning this gentleman is, when he's feeling down, he thinks of a person of color being in Congress and it brightens his whole day. What? Anyway, let's move along. Tucker Carlson talking with this center about the Kamala Harris, I won't say issue, but I won't replace it with a different word. Let's go.
This cycle, what do you think? Could Kamala Harris win?
She could win. There's no question about it. And Republicans would make a huge mistake by discounting her. If by discounting her, they're assuming we don't have to work that hard to defeat her. A few things we know about Kamala Harris.
Well, she's technically the head of the body you serve in.
Yes, she's the president of the Senate. Kamala Harris, despite her gaffes that we've seen, when she's operating on script and when she's got good staff preparing her material and she sticks to that material, she's actually pretty good. Now, I disagree with almost everything she says.
Of course.
But when she stays on script, she can be a compelling speaker, far more compelling than President Biden. Biden of yesteryear did a better job than he's done in the last few years, but she's a much more compelling speaker than others, and I think she's going to be very carefully scripted over the next few months. So yeah, I think we should be very worried about it. We've already seen the media-sponsored apotheosis of Kamala Harris. I always think about this, the great mural. I guess it's a fresco, technically, at the top of the Capitol Rotunda, the inside of the dome. You've got this beautiful painting by Constantino Brumidi, an Italian-born American immigrant. And it's called The Apotheosis of George Washington. It shows George Washington ascending into heaven following his death. And he's surrounded by these 13 angels, each representing one of the original colonies. And he's surrounded, and then there are two other angels right next to him, one of which represents liberty and the other one represents the majesty of government or something like that. And he's being glorified and almost deified. There is a very familiar ring, connection between that painting and what the media is trying to portray of Kamala Harris. In the last few days, you've seen the complete erasure of any reference to Kamala Harris being the border czar, which didn't go well. There's been an effort, a sustained and fairly successful effort by the media to erase the fact that she was widely regarded as one of the most, if not the very most, progressive liberal member of the United States Senate. There's been this rebirth of Kamala Harris as this great warrior who is ready, willing, and able at a moment's notice to take the reins as America's chief executive. And they're scrubbing things she has said in the past, crazy statements she's made, from defunding the police to aggressive, radical climate change policies, Green New Deal stuff. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. They're papering over all of that. So yes, Kamala Harris is a threat because she's got this media industrial complex that's completely behind her.
How much, since she is the president of the Senate and you've been a senator for 13 and a half years, how much contact, well, of course you served in the Senate with her.
Yes.
What's she like?
She's a lot like how she seems on TV. She's got a funny, playful side to her. When she is on script, she can be very emotionally compelling in her speech, but she is very, very liberal. And especially when she went off script in the Senate Judiciary Committee, you could tell that. You could tell, and oftentimes.
So you served on the committee with her?
Oh yeah. Served on the committee with her. We worked together in the Senate for 4 years. So she was elected in 2016, and she remained in the Senate until she became vice president. So,
so what was she like in committee?
She was feisty, definitely one of the most far left members of the committee. She did not hesitate to take what I thought were very aggressive attacks against Trump era. Remember the entire time that she and I were in the Senate at the same time, the entire time she was in the Senate corresponded precisely with Donald Trump's time as president. She was one who never hesitated to take really aggressive and sometimes cheap pot shots at President Trump's judicial nominees and to at times badly mischaracterize them, Donald Trump, his positions, and his personnel.
Did you get a sense that she regarded the Constitution as sacred or even important?
Well, she's certainly one who would pay lip service to the Constitution. To channel the inner Isaiah, to draw near to the Constitution with her lips, while her heart may have been far from it, because she didn't seem to acknowledge key core limitations on the Constitution. I never saw from her an acceptance or an understanding of the twin structural protections of the Constitution, the vertical protection that we call federalism, leaving most of the power at the states and localities, or the horizontal protection that we call separation of powers. Never saw that from her. And I saw a hyper-obsessiveness on focusing on certain rights that were invented out of whole cloth by the
She's
Supreme
an
Court.
abortion fanatic.
Yes.
I said this before too. I was wondering why it was the only thing she was talking about. It's the only thing that you really see her talk about, what seems like off the cuff, but not really. When you start hearing a lot of her speeches, it's a lot of the same stuff over and over and over again. Just like the whole, don't be burdened by what has been kind of thing. That whole thing, the equity little speech that she has, like she says a lot of things over and over and over again because the script just kind of stays the same. But I've noticed that she's very much into that. She focuses there. You never hear her talk about the economy. You're constantly hearing Trump talk about the economy and what he wants to do and the tariffs and this and that. The only reason I know about putting tariffs on other countries and this, the only reason I know about that is because of Trump. I've never heard any other president really talk about stuff like that. He gets into the nitty-gritty a lot more than people would actually give him credit for. But I mean, when he's at his rallies, he talks for an hour and a half, and that's hard for some people to sit through. So I understand that completely. Very interesting that he said the exact same thing for her, Rogan did, as people used to say for Biden. People often would say for Biden that he just has a stutter, and the stutter comes out more when he's in front of cameras because he's really nervous. And that's why you're hearing him stammer off and have trouble speaking. Like, that's all it is. It's just that he's really, really nervous. And it's funny that Joe says he was having dinner with someone that knows her. I wonder who that was. And that she has the exact same problem. It's just when she gets in front of the camera. That's all it is. Something might be going on. Something might be brewing there, because just years ago, that's exactly what they were saying about Biden. Found that very interesting. Also found this very interesting. Talking about Tim Walz, Rogan, again, I said this before when I was talking about the endorsement video, Joe Rogan saying these things about RFK, and I made the case that maybe he doesn't actually know everything that RFK is for. And a lot of people were like, oh, no, I'm voting for RFK, blah, 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 blah. Quiet. Anyway, he just brought up two things again. Tim Walz believes in gender care for young people. So does RFK. He brought up women's health rights. RFK feels the same way. So he's talking about Tim, Kamala Harris's pick, like he's a little too radical on these things. RFK feels the exact same way. He's just made himself clear about that over the past few months, which is why his campaign started to lose steam. Because a lot of people who he's going to pull away from Trump aren't on board with that type of thing, and it messed a lot of stuff up for him. What? So again, kind of, I'm not going to say it solidifies my case, but it's another little marker there that maybe he doesn't actually realize what RFK is all about, but that's a side note. Joe brings up treason for fact checkers. Listen, for everybody who says he's liberal, that was a pretty hard right stance right there. You know what I think about fact checkers? Treason. And you know what the penalty is for that. It's like, whoa, easy. They're dishonest. Just relax. I can't believe he used the word treason. And he's kind of right. I kind of see what he's saying, but I do think it's a little intense, especially when you realize the fact checkers are just people who are more than likely being told to hold certain opinions, or just been given way too much power, just given too much power, and they just decide what's fake and what's not, and they don't really go in depth and look into these things at all. They just kind of decide check mark or an X, and that's it, which is actually a lot of what's going on after Facebook revealed, or a company that worked for Facebook revealed, because they were the moderators and these people were just overworked. And I should actually cover that documentary. It's crazy, the things you'd hear from these people. A lot of people breaking down. But one thing that Senator Mike Lee said that I definitely agree with, media industrial complex. That's what's surrounding her. That's what's allowing for the gaslighting. That's what's allowing for what we're seeing today. Polls are coming out where it's like, oh, Kamala Harris is in the lead. But again, from the polls to the media coverage, to the coverage of the crowd sizes between Trump and Kamala, from the coverage of Trump speaking and Kamala speaking, all of it is being skewed by these media companies that are pretty left-leaning and in lockstep with her campaign. So it's very interesting to see all this. I've said it 100 times. These mainstream media outlets are not reflecting society as the press is supposed to. They're molding our reality. That's what they specialize in now. They mold what we think. They show you the poll. They let you know Kamala Harris is in the lead. They're trying to push that on you. Now, I'm not saying it's like, oh, she's just so down far and this is all a lie, but they have the ability to say what they want, and they've shown that over the past 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, 20 years, depending on how old you are. Time and time again, they say what they want. Even if they're wrong, they do not have to apologize, and they just keep on going. So I find that very, very interesting. I've never heard that term, media industrial complex. I like it quite a bit. It makes a lot of sense. I usually just call it the machine. I call it the mainstream machine. It's in full activation for her, but there you go, you know, and I don't doubt what Mike Lee's saying when he says that she could win, echoing the sentiments of Joe Rogan just a few days ago. I do think that is a possibility, but I also think, again, when it comes to Trump, he's doing all the right things. The media is just not covering it. I mean, let's be real. I mean, JD Vance talked about it recently. He's like, Trump and I are going to rooms where we're hated, where we're loved, where people don't like us, where there's animosity, where people do like us. We're sitting down, doing interviews, press conferences, all these different things, and she's not. And the fact that they've been doing this so hard, going so hard, having all of these conferences, meetings, rallies, Trump sitting in front of all these black journalists that are all left wing that don't like him and getting pretty much berated and having to defend himself. She's not doing any of this. And it shows, not just for the, like I've said this for black people, Trump is, out of the two, Trump is working hardest for the black vote. He's actually going to places where he knows they don't like him. He'll go to a church where maybe they do and maybe they don't. And he's always just ready to either defend himself or at least speak his piece and what he feels he can do for the black community. What have you heard from Kamala Harris in terms of that? I have not heard much of what she plans to do. Have you? Have you really? Think about that. It's almost getting to a point where her VP pick has said more than her. But even him, they're more acting, they're talking about joy and how great things are and dancing, and it's odd. It's very odd. But this is the reason why she could do this whole thing. You know, when you have the media on your side, it's a huge force. And people have said it before. Trump is just not facing Kamala Harris or just facing another nominee from another party. He's going up against a nominee, their campaign, the media, and other forces that are behind all of that, all at the same time. So pray for Trump, quite honestly. Anyways, guys, just wanted to bring that to you. Like, subscribe, turn on the notifications. They freezed our subscribers. We need your help. Hit that notification button. It helps the channel tremendously. And other than that, I'm out.